All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And for the fall 2021 semester at Rankin Technical College, I'll be teaching two classes. AWD 1000, which is Web Development Technologies. And for that class, we have two textbooks, Murox HTML05 and CSS3 4th edition. And here's the table of contents. I'm going to make it smaller so almost the whole thing will fit there. And we're going to spend probably about the first 4 weeks on that book. Then we're going to go to the other book for the class, which is Murox JavaScript and jQuery. And there are the chapters for that book. Now, I have gone through and I've created PowerPoint presentations. You can go out there and search my YouTube channel for them for both of these books. Okay. The other class that I'm teaching is AWD 1111, Database-Driven Web Development, which does not have a book. And it's a class that mainly is going to first give like a review of JavaScript, and then we're going to go into NODE.JS, which is JavaScript, but it's JavaScript for the server. So why am I telling you this? Well, I went out and thought, we don't have a book, but it would be nice to have resources that students could have, and possibly we could even use for both classes. Okay, so went out here, and looks a little kind of a goofy looking website. There it is. It's Flavio Copes, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, .com. And Flavio, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, has got a bunch of free ebooks that he has created and made available to people. And you can see he's got a bunch of tutorials, but he's also got ebooks on JavaScript, React, HTML, CSS, NODE.JS, Express.js. All right, and there's an ESS to ES5 to ES Next. So who cares? You should. All right, because I'm going to start going over those, and I'm just going to take it from the top. So he's got an 87-page PDF called the HTML Handbook. I'm going to go over that one first, followed by a 173-page, the CSS Handbook. Then I'm going to go over a 70-page, the JavaScript Beginner's Handbook. Then I'm going to go over ES5 to ES Next, JavaScript from ES5 to ES Next. And that's a lot of the stuff that we cover in the beginning class, the AWD 1000. But I'm also going to go over the Node Handbook, 189 pages, followed by the Express Handbook, 61 pages, followed by the React Handbook, or React Beginner's Handbook, 40 pages. All right, so I'm just going to start right away with this HTML one, and hopefully the material that's in here will be relevant to both classes. I'm going to try to keep these lectures down to 15 or 20 minutes each. The chances of me being able to go over all 87 pages here in 20 minutes is not good, especially considering I already spent almost 4 minutes just talking this up. But let's see what's in here. All right, your typical intro and preface, HTML basics, document heading, document body, tags that interact with text, links, container tags, page structure, forms, tables, multimedia tags, iframes, images, accessibility. This is all stuff that's in our textbook as well. I would rather inundate you and give you too much than not give you enough. All right? Is there a chance? I mean, one of the other things that I've done, just so you're aware of this, is if I go out here and I type in Mozilla Developer Network Learn Web Development. All right. This is a series of documents that's been put together by the Mozilla Developer Network. And I went through and created, believe it or not, 280 videos already this summer on that. I did have a little bit of problems down toward the end with getting some of the Node stuff to work. So it's still a work in progress. All right. But that said, let's just jump into here. So I wrote this book to help you quickly learn HTML and get familiar with the advanced HTML topics. All right. HTML was officially born in 1993. This book is aimed at a vast audience. For the beginner, we'll explain HTML from zero to succinct in a succinct but comprehensive way. For the professional, HTML is considered a secondary thing to learn. It might be a given. Yet, as it says, a lot of things are obscure to many people. They just never learned them or didn't learn them correctly or whatever. Even if you don't write HTML in your day-to-day work, knowing how HTML works can be a good thing. There's the website. Feel free to drop him an email or follow him on Twitter. Might even be able to get him on LinkedIn. I don't know. I've never tried. All right. HTML is the foundation of the marvel called the web. All right. This summer, I am teaching a week-long class on website design to middle schoolers. And one of the things I was going to mention to them, you may or may not agree with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to go out to images.google.com. Oops. And in here, I'm going to put in three-legged stool, because that's kind of the way I look at website design, period. So let's just grab this. All right, I'm grabbing this one right here. So I'm going to grab this. Oops. Oh, where was it? There it is. And I'm going to bring it up in Paint. Why am I doing this? Why am I wasting your time doing this? Because this is the way I look at things. You may or may not agree. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to remove this. All right, other than to prove to you that I can sort of use the eraser feature on Paint, you might think, well, that's fine, but what are you doing right here? Why are you wasting our time? I'm not trying to waste your time, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into Home and I'm going to go down here into Text, and I'm going to put some text down here and I'm going to type in HTML. All right, and let's grab this. That's fine. I'll just leave it right there. I'm going to grab another one here, and we'll put here CSS. And we'll grab another one. We'll grab another one right here, and we'll put in JavaScript. So this is kind of the way I look at things. That website design is like this three-legged stool. And if you remove one of the legs, you're going to have a hard time. All right? Now, I put HTML in the middle on purpose because it's the foundation. You can build a website with just HTML that has no CSS and has no JavaScript in it. You can also build a website with HTML and CSS, which has no JavaScript in it. All right? But it's kind of hard to do anything else. But HTML, again, is the content of the website. All right, so again, that's what I'm saying. You know, you put all these three things together. It's like when you put all three legs on the stool, they work better. All right, I'll just leave it at that. How's that? Okay. "20 years have passed now." Actually, when you think about it, when did it say that HTML began? 1993. So we're talking almost 30 years, really 28 years. And there's been a lot of changes over that time to CSS. But as it says here, it's still the foundation of the web. And many of the changes, not all of them, but many of the changes have been minimal. We now have, as it mentions here, more semantic tags. All right. And CSS has really come on to take care of the design. HTML success, I like this, is based on one thing, simplicity. All right. There are some rules, but after you learn those, you've got a lot of freedom. Browsers learn to be resilient, etc. Okay. We even know what the first web page was. Feel free to take a look if you're interested. But let's jump in. All right. HTML basics. HTML, as it says, is a standard that's defined by really two groups. All right. Over time, the WHAT-WG has become more important, and as it says, it's the Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group. Basically, as it says there, it's controlled by Google, all right, which pretty much runs Chrome, Mozilla, Firefox, Apple, Safari, Microsoft, Edge. In the past, as it says, the W3C, and they're still out there, the World Wide Web Consortium was the organization in charge. All right. Now they go through about XHTML, which, was supposed to basically be kind of the, for lack of better words, let's say the kind of go-between language between HTML, which was supposed to digress and go into XML. Never quite happened the way people envisioned that it would happen. All right. So this is some history, and I don't want to waste any of our time, on this history. As it says, HTML is served to the browser in different ways. It can be generated by a server-side application, for example, Rails or Laravel or Django. It can be generated by JavaScript client app that generates HTML on the fly. In the simplest case, it can be stored in a file and served to the browser by a web server. That's what the AWD 1000 class is all about. All right. By convention, a file is saved with either a .html or a .htm extension. By default, I believe that the order in which the browser looks, if you don't put the name on a website, is it first looks at index.html. It then looks at index.htm. Then I believe it looks for default.html and default.htm. Okay? All right. So tags wrap the content. It's a tag-based language. So there's an example of paragraph tags. We've looked at this stuff already. There's an unordered list. Now, it's incomplete. I wish they hadn't broken it there, but all that stuff is there. So let's do this. Let's grab most of his examples here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new folder. All right, I got a lot of stuff to close here, so let's just do this. I'll close them all there. All right, so a new folder, and I'm going to call it Flavio-HTML. All right, and there it is. There's nothing in it, but I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to choose Open with Code. So I've got this open now in VS Code. I don't need release notes. I don't need the welcome, but I am going to come in here, click here, and put in index.html. Okay? And remember, we've got our shortcut. I can hit the exclamation point, which brings up the Emmet shortcut. Hit tab. There you go. I'm not going to change anything that's in here right now. I'm just going to leave it like that. But I'm going to put in some of Mr. Copes's code. So he starts here with just a paragraph of text. Cool. Whoops, don't want it there, I want it here. And if I save and I open it with Live Server, there's what we have. I made it bigger so you can read it. All right, a paragraph of text, big deal, right? No, it isn't. But, okay, so we've got that. And underneath that, let's go in and add this unordered list that he has right here. So I'm going to start it there. And we'll add the rest of it here. Okay, save. Open again with live. In fact, we've already got it in live server, so let's just look at, there we go. So we now have both a paragraph and an unordered list. And you may or may not realize it, but there is a certain amount of default styling that the browser has put in for us. And like I said, don't worry about it. It's fine. All right, let's jump ahead. Now I said I'm going to keep these things 20 minutes or less, so let's just see if we can get a few more things in here, because I didn't get very far. All right, when an HTML page is served by the browser, that's basically what's happening there. When I am opening it up in live server, the tags are interpreted, and the browser renders the elements according to some rules. All right, some rules, again, are built into the browser. Other rules, as it says, are set by the CSS. Okay, all right. HTML is not for presentations. That's what CSS is for. So as it says, if you put nothing in whatsoever, it's up to the browser to determine how things look. All right. So it says let's make a proper HTML page. So the first thing they have in there is this doc type, which is a document type. All right, and then we've got our HTML tags. Well, remember, when we put this in, automatically that got added for us. So did this. All right, and not only that, when you look at this, all right, when you look at it right there, it's even got an attribute in there called lang, short for language, and it says that it's English, and there's the end of the body tag. All right, in addition, we've got the stuff in our head section, which does not appear directly on the website. All right. And we also have our stuff in the body section, which does appear on the website or on the web page itself. All right. Most tags come with an opening tag and a closing tag. Some don't, like a BR tag, for example, does not. All right. So there are a few self-closing tags. So this is the basic structure that you have in here. Okay. All right. So the author says here, tags versus elements. What's the difference? It says elements have a starting tag and a closing tag. So an element has a starting tag, something inside, and a closing tag. It says if an element doesn't have a closing tag, it is only written with a starting tag, and it can't contain any type of text content. All right. So examples of those, there would be like a BR for line break tag, an HR for horizontal rule tag, etc. All right. Starting tag can have special snippets of information called attributes, and we already looked at one of them. Not here, but in the example that I showed you. There is an example of an attribute. The attribute is lang. The value is en. So it's a key value type of thing is what they're saying right there. Okay. Now, what we'll get to in more depth and breadth of coverage when we talk about the CSS portion or his document in CSS is we'll talk about IDs and classes. The big difference between an ID and a class is an ID should be unique on any web page. So there, if I've got ID equals hello, there should only be one hello ID that's there, all right, on that page. On the other hand, if I have a class, I can apply a class to multiple things. I can apply the same class to multiple paragraphs or a paragraph and an unordered list, etc. Whatever I want to apply it to. All right, so there's a class. Now it says when you use classes like this, it's common to use a dash. I'm not going to say they're right or he's right or he's wrong there, but I will say this. However you decide to set this stuff up, be consistent in the way you do it. All right, I'm going to stop right there. pick it up on case insensitive in just a moment.